I'm really pleased to announce that we have Suuneater here, who is going to be taking us through Soul Amnesia. If you could just all please be on mute for the time being, and then obviously we will take questions, or if you want to jump in. There's also a chat section on the side as well if you have any questions for Suuneater while he's speaking and presenting. But yeah, so introducing Suuneater, take it away.
Hey, eternal peace and love to all of you. Very, very grateful to be here and share this these deep truths with all of you and get to know you and speak on a deep soul level. I just have kind of like a few guide points of topics we're going to cover that's going to kind of tie this aspect of what soul amnesia is together. And we're just going to leave it open. We'll just kind of throw out one of these topics and kind of set it up, and then we'll just run with it, and everybody can just jump in and weigh in on where they are, what they draw from this. And yeah, we're just going to have fun with this. So I'm just going to throw off a couple things, just a couple guide points, and then we can just dive right into it. So soul amnesia, remembrance. Who are you? Why are you here? It's going to cover those aspects. What's the human character? What's the incarnation role? While we're in this third density, incarnated in human form. Is this your first time? Is this a character you're playing? Is this a spacesuit? What is being human, really? What is the 3D duality, time trap, matrix illusion, the artificial reality, the manipulated illusion that we've been living? What is under, inner, and overstanding? Impeccability, the tempering of the mind, temple, i.e. the body and spirit. What is to come next? Precognition, future, resets, and what this earth realm is, this plane of existence we're currently in, and soul school. This is an incarnate plane of existence. It's soul school. For those dependent on what level of soul potential they're at, what point of remembrance they're at. So we're going to kind of just cover all this stuff. It's a lot of wide stuff to cover. And there's no right or wrong to this. This is just, we're touching base with all these things. And as we continue to put the pieces together to what all this stuff means, as we're figuring out who and what we are more and more, where we're going and what's coming next. So however y'all want to do this, we can pick a topic and do it, unless something is already standing out to somebody, and we can dive right into that.
Impeccability is what stands out. Can you delve more into this and what you mean by this?
Okay, so Alex and I have talked outside of here loosely about impeccability. We haven't gotten quite deep into impeccability. Now, how I know impeccability to be, while we're here and now, is we've all heard mind, body, spirit. We've heard this thrown out, for a long time, but what does that truly mean? So to align the mind, which is consciousness, the body, which is the temple, it's the incarnated form while we're here, and the spirit, the soul, the thing that's really operating all this, in the third density. It's about aligning all three of those things. And impeccability, to be impeccable while doing that, is to get to the most streamlined, refined form, so to speak. So say if it's for the body, the incarnated body. What I've found while I've been here, and others have found while they've been here, is the cleanest, highest vibratory way to operate just the body, completely raw plant foods, intermittent fasting, the cleanest of water. You know, it's pretty basic. For the mind, you know, we need to feed our consciousness. It's what helps us create, it's what helps us learn, it's what helps us remember. You know, a lot of that stuff is, at this point, I would hope for many, should be intuitively based. Alex has made posts before about, you know, learning is remembering. That's exactly what it is. You know, we need to feed our consciousness because it's what helps us come back into remembrance as our soul kind of shakes loose, you know, the illusion of the third density experience we had been having up to that point, and feeding it with things that speak deeply true to us, whether, and these are going to be things that are going to be more specific to everyone. Granted, other aspects of them are more larger aspects of kind of this piece of the puzzle, the truth that we've been putting together, whether the illusion that we've poked holes through, you know, with kind of secret societies or what Earth Realm is, or, you know, all that stuff. That's part of aspects of feeding the mind, tempering the mind, constantly refining it, you know, teaching oneself, making oneself stronger, i.e. through the consciousness, you know, through relearning and remembering, you know, the spirit, you know, impeccability for the spirit, because again, everything is internal. It's within us is our consciousness, it's our soul. Everything happens with that first, you know, this third density experience that we're having. This is the echo chamber from what the soul is actually doing, what's actually happening in the astral, what's happening in the higher density realms, you know, the impeccability of the soul, because that thing is already impeccable. Our soul is impeccable. Our body and mind has yet to become impeccable, you know. So it starts with the temple, i.e. the body, it starts with the mind, and it's a refining process. You know, it's no different than exercising a muscle. You know, you have to keep building it and working it out. Now, there are specific practices to every single one of us. You know, every one of us should have our own specific, individualized daily ritual. This is what helps with our impeccability. This is what helps with discipline. This is what will keep us in constant alignment if we're feeding our mind daily, our body daily, and our spirit daily through these specific practices, whether it's yoga, exercise, i.e. diet, the water we drink, fasting, inner visualizations. That's more going to be for your consciousness and your soul, because they are interchangeable. Meditation, but before you want to meditate, you want to make sure that you can already have these inner visions of putting up a force field around you, of being able to protect yourself, basically. Because if you can see it, then you can create it. It can come into existence. That's how this third density works. It's actually how a lot of what we think of, like the negative magic or all these spells, or say like the predictive programming that we've all uncovered, that's actually half of how it comes into existence, because it gets planted in the subconsciousness, you know, of, and the spirit of the consciousness that's here in the incarnate form. And over a period of time, that becomes manifest, because the collective consciousness is what's holding this experience together. It's what's actually creating the density here. I know I went pretty wide with that, but
shall we see if we have any questions on that? Does anyone want to jump in, or does anyone have anything they want to discuss? If not, you can carry on, Sonia.
So let me just get a little terser with it. I apologize. I can I can run pretty wide sometimes with shit. Again, impeccability, discipline, it's one and the same thing. The mind, body, spirit alignment. It is about perfecting that. The more we perfect that, the more our soul can operate in this density, which means the more we can manifest in the 3D, the more we can co-create this reality. That's a powerful thing. but we need to be impeccable in order to do it. The body and the mind, while in this density, will never be able to handle the totality of what our soul is. It's just incapable of it. But we can continue to build and bring it forward as much as possible, but we would never be able to bring forward the totality of our soul in this experience. But we can keep raising it high enough to a point that we can bring enough of our soul forward that's what's really operating and creating this experience. And that's what's currently happening with many right now. We're seeing this play out, and that has a huge aspect of being impeccable. Many of you have intuitively felt a need over the last few years, even if currently, to cut certain things out of your lifestyle, whether it be food or family members or friendships. That's a part of impeccability. We can use the term of trimming the fat, basically. It's that level of discipline. The type of discipline and impeccability we're talking about is basically what any major fighter or warrior or anyone who's going to train, extrapolate that and times that, 1,000-fold. We've already been preparing before we got into this incarnation, and this current incarnation was just still preparation on the way to the now. That's part of our impeccability. That's part of the discipline, which is allowing us, our soul, to step forward more in this experience and actually cause.
Does that mean acting with grace then, in, if something isn't going our way or we're experiencing a negative reality, and you're saying to act impeccably? Is that to act with grace then in the face of a negative situation?
Absolutely. So I have a good, just silly little example. So I cut one of my fingers extremely badly, just recently, and that could have been avoided. I was not on top of it, and it happened. But regardless of it happening, it did not deter my experience, and I still juiced 30 pounds of apples with a very badly cut finger and a very shitty centrifugal juicer, and I enjoyed it the whole entire time because it was about going through the process of the experience first and foremost, always, and not getting the end result. And now that something that could have been avoided happened, I still just had to go with it. And that's what impeccability is. It's grace, it's stoicism. It's about having the totality to see that, hey, this is something that could have actually been avoided if I would have been just that much more attentive and on top of it. But regardless of it happening, you just still have to gracefully go with it regardless.
Thanks.
If I may, yeah, that's actually beautiful and goes right along the lines of a very similar story that I had of going through things gracefully with impeccability. Working in a restaurant, cut off the end of my thumb accidentally while cutting tomatoes. But we were so busy that I just turned around and cauterized it right then and there with a hot burner. Threw on a Band-Aid and kept on working, cleaned up the space, and didn't even really feel the pain until later. But yeah, we finished the shift. We rocked it out. It's all grace. Very beautiful. I'm glad I joined in at this time.
John, what were the deeper things you took away from even just that experience? Besides the peace that you found just going through that experience, a very painful and immediate experience, and instead of being reactionary, just being total in the moment and still going through with it.
Excuse my daughter. She's kind of sleepy. We're trying to get her to sleep.
It's wonderful hearing her.
Thanks. She says hi. It was a huge eye-opener for myself and my ability to persevere through intense displeasure and pain, to finish a goal or to see through what I needed to see through. I kind of came in halfway, I think, through what you were talking about originally.
So, like John was talking about, and as most of all of us know, pain is part of the process of our remembrance, and it's where the peace comes from. It's part of the 3D duality matrix illusion of this incarnated form, and it's a necessary part of it. But again, it's like anything. You can have a painful experience and not be impeccable and disciplined by it. So let's do a hypothetical. Let's say person loses a leg, and they allow that experience to basically completely hinder their life. They don't see the lesson in it. They don't see the deeper value in it. And basically their life, they don't get that. They don't get the deeper experience out of it because they're still just coming from the ego. It's the me. Why did this happen to me? And they don't actually seek the why. They don't go deep enough to the implications why, and they don't see it as something that actually opened them up to strengthening them and making them better and opening up their soul potential in a greater way. Part of this 3D experience that we're having in this duality matrix, the word light workers gets thrown out there and all this goofy ass shit. And at the end of the day, shamans, medicine women, medicine healers, regardless, ascended masters, those that are here in varying degrees, the thing about pain or the thing about things that we think of as are negative in this 3D duality matrix time trap illusion that we're currently living it's actually part of the necessary process, and us that are doing what we're doing, what all of you have done in this current incarnation up to now, and what you're continuing to do is you've been transmuting all this personal trauma, pain, horrific experiences, violence, whatever that y'all have gone through, that y'all have experienced and taken on, that maybe y'all have perpetuated. But the art of this experience is taking all of that and transmuting it and creating it and turning it into something of peace and grace and love and of deep wisdom, and something that uplifts us and takes us to the highest of our soul potential.
Thanks.
It was beautiful and very artistic in the wording. Thank you very much.
I hope I'm making sense.
You are. Do you know that the only thing I'm thinking is that because maybe I'm possibly not there yet, I'm just trying to think how I can understand it in the perspective that I'm living currently.
Well, yeah, let's break it down further. What is it? Let's get down deeper to what is it that.
So you're saying basically, that when these negative situations happen, that they are happening for the greater good. I understand that, but when you're in it in the moment, or me personally, shall I say, when I'm in it in the moment,
There you go.
I'm not trying to put it on anyone else. This is my
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
That I forget, and I can get into that victim state really easily. It's not until I remind myself and tell myself I don't want to be in this victim state.
Well, and it's the ego. It's what's happening. Part of the remembrance as we're shaking off this 3D experience we've been having. And it is a role. It's a spacesuit. It's a human incarnated spacesuit. This is outer space. This is the actual outer space experience you're having. The soul that's basically powering, this organic machine that you're having. We're so good at this role that we forget that we're playing a role. And that's part of what's happening as we start to, some people call it awakening, we call it remembering. It's one and the same thing as the soul starts to step forward more and more. And, you know, it's like one foot still in the illusion and getting caught up in that, while the other foot's like pulling the other one further forward and going, no, that's all bullshit. And you know it's bullshit. What's really happening again is, and this plays into multiple aspects of the impeccability, the discipline. This is why, like, to have that constant mind, body, spirit alignment, and to basically only, even with, you know, situations that are challenging or that could carry a negative connotation, to see it all for the lesson and the necessary experience that it's meant to be. And that, again, you know, while we're all going through this process, it's not something that happens immediately. Even just in this current incarnation we've been, I'm 36 at this point, depending on where everybody else is in their human incarnated suit that they're wearing. The reality of it is this is a very, 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 very diligent process to get to a level where you see it all for what it really is, you know. And that's just part of you remembering, Alex, like, you know, when you hit those aspects, like when you're really in the higher state and you're in alignment, and like you said, you have like the solid week, you know, where you're there. Well, you know on the deepest of level why that starts to happen, why you start to basically descend back down into the third density. You know, you go into a lower vibratory state, you basically start to disalign your chakras. And we all know on the deepest level is it's either we're not putting what we need to into the body, we're not putting what we need to into the mind, and we're not allowing the soul to do what it needs to.
So, Suuneater, do you think that there's ever been a case where someone has achieved this, this constant, continuous balance of impeccability?
Just about to ask this, yeah. Thank you.
Or do you think that's just like a sort of transcendental sort of ideal that we can all aim for, but never fully, grasp for ourselves?
Well, it's like anything. It's, you know, and this gets into the aspects of part of this experience for those with like the highest of soul potential that are having this current experiences. We always want to strive to basically reach for the highest divine rung, but let's be real. I mean, even if you were to attain it in this incarnation, I mean, then what's next? I mean, to me personally, to continually to be striving for that is what's worth it. I personally don't want to completely gain it, because then what's next? You know, that's why we've gotten multiple incarnations to do this. You know, it's the refining process of the soul. You know, it's gaining more of that experience, you know, opening up more of our soul potential as we've done this experience over and over again.
That reminds me of the expression, it's a game that can only be played, never won.
Exactly. Well, and it's like anything, it's because there's no time, regardless anyway, there's no space, there's only now. So it's everything is perpetually now, and we're co-creating the future, you know, we're all co-creating that into the now. So it's ever changing, ever flowing. So yeah, there's no end, there's no beginning. That's the eternal nature of what this realm is and what we are.
The reward is the journey then, instead of there being some sort of gift or punishment at death.
And that's okay. So that goes even deeper into the duality matrix. Punishment, you know, could actually be not punishment, benefit, you know. So like this gets kind of into like law of one stuff of like service to self or service to others. And it's all paradoxical in the end, because it's all going to lead back to the other. Regardless, you can start out as service to others. Invariably, it'll end up being service to self, and vice versa. But the reality is service to self is going to eventually, over multiple incarnations, lead to service to self, you know, as one continues to basically raise one's soul potential. See how I see this aspect and what's playing out. And yes, there's very much aspects, you know, souls and organic portals that have been taken over here by archonic forces. But really, a lot of this realm is a shadow aspect of our own selves, you know, and most don't want to admit that, you know, and we're going through a major paradigm shift right now, and that's happening, and there is a major splitting that's happening in this realm.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
And John, or Suuneater, sorry. I would
How dare you? What's up, brother?
How are you? Yeah, I would go as far as to say that the victimhood mentality is symptomatic of the sort of dualistic nature, and that the duality is almost a form of sort of cultural abuse. If you think about how, you know, society kind of runs itself in this sort of like, you know, the whole concept of the whole idea of like alpha male versus beta and all of this kind of stuff we hear, you know, these like sort of buzzwords, you know, like cultural or like material abuse. And it seems like it goes in both directions. Is like the victimhood mentality versus the attainment of something that, you know, is meant to serve others, but is actually becomes quite self-serving in the realm of something like spiritual enlightenment, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And that gets even deeper in the aspects like we've talked about prior with the bullshit fake new age movement and the bullshit fake spiritualists and fake truthers and all that are really still for a self-serving agenda, regardless of what's presented on the surface.
Yeah. So to not be a victim really feels like it's key, you know?
Yeah, that resonates with me as well.
Well, and on the deepest of levels, we all know that we signed up for this regardless.
Yeah. So it's like at that point, how could you be a victim, you know?
It's only a mindset, and it's a delusional mindset.
And it's levels. It's just stages, you know, it's what level of remembrance are you in your soul potential in this current incarnation, basically, you know? And no one of any one of us knows any more or any less than the others. It's just different stages, different degrees. We're all putting it together collectively. And again, there's the truth. There is the truth. And then there's our own personal truths, which is tied to our soul and our spirit, you know, and part of our remembrance.
And essentially isn't like service to self anyway, service to others, really.
They're inseparable.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's the paradoxical nature of it. So let's say what we might view as is like a Justin Timberlake, you know, and it's like, oh, they're the Illuminati and they work for, like, really, you know, regardless of this different tiers of the satanic agenda, or they're putting this across. Look, they're a service to self, and they're actually helping us do what we do best, and they're helping others wake up to or remember what they need to so they can fucking step on the other side. This is, again, the paradoxical nature of duality, and while duality is irrelevant, true ascension and what our soul truly knows it to be, we don't come from duality. We don't come from time, you know, like these concepts are silly to us. We get trapped in the illusion while we're here, and that's why, you know, we even see a lot of, you know, like with the Masons and the whole black and white thing, they're showing you this is the checkerboard, the plane of existence that the duality matrix is being played out on. You know, it's right in front of our face.
Isn't it interesting how we oscillate between that whole becoming aware of the illusion and then living back into the illusion? And then I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but me personally, I've started to experience this. The only word I can describe is like oscillation, like just going in between constantly, remembering of, oh, I'm in this illusion and this isn't really real. But imagine like if there were people that could actually maintain that level of awareness.
That's where Taoism comes in.
Yeah, there are. It's again, it's what this is. It gets to.
But then, are they having a true human experience if their awareness is of, you know, like if they're aware of the illusion?
Wow, good question.
I think so.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the Wudang Mountains?
What's that?
Google the Wudang Mountains.
Well, I'll do it now.
It's in China, but it's a whole a very, very ancient community of Taoists, practicing Taoists, but essentially, yeah, they're living where they just have a lifestyle practice set up so that they understand that their bodies exist in a duality nature, but because they find unity, kind of like a yogi does, they're able to maintain their awareness throughout their day.
So they're essentially choosing that, to live that reality. It's
Yeah, but they're doing it in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Well, again, every single one of you chose to come here and have a duality experience so you could perfect your spirit, so you could get on a level like we're talking about. I mean, to me, and John, like John Burger in here, we're at that point, and there's others at that point that are way further along. This is, you see it for the game for what it is. What's the worst that's going to happen to you? You going to get killed? You going to die?
Yeah.
You know, fucking, they're going to kill your avatar?
Right.
I mean, if you're at that point of knowing, of your understanding, because that's your understanding, you know that at that point that you are already eternal, and this is just an organic portal, a suit, you know, a human suit that you're wearing, that you came to have this experience, to co-create, to do, to also garner your own soul potential for. So you've already transcended fear. So you're at that point, Alex, you know, you're past the illusion. You're just still choosing to lower yourself. We still do this because it's part of, again, that oscillation, that flux that we go through on the way of, you know, our soul stepping forward completely, you know, and pulling us out of, you know, the illusion of this.
It's part of that process. I completely understand that, but it's like, there's so many Johns on here. The other John who was talking about the Wudang Mountains, like I could choose to be there. Like sometimes I feel like I want to, it's funny because I often say like I just want to run away and just go in, like live in the mountains. Like that's especially during my uncomfortability, you know, I really don't like uncomfortability or pain, and I, you know, that it takes me a while to accept it and really sit in it. But when it first comes about, like say I'm having like a really good week, for example, and I'm experiencing a really, really positive, beautiful, loving, amazing reality, and then all of a sudden, you know, a lesson comes in or a bump in the road happens and it disrupts that lovely flow that I have going on. And obviously I'm aware it's like part of the process. I just don't really like the uncomfortability. My mind will just naturally be like, I want to go to the mountains. I want to switch off, you know, like I don't want to be part of the reality. And I think that's also what I find that I'm struggling with is that keeps pulling me back into that 3D is the reality that I'm currently living in. The fact that I you know, I keep saying, and most of you already know that I keep feeling like I'm, you know, 1 foot in the matrix, 1 foot out. And I feel like that's why I keep going back. But yeah, I don't know like what anyone else feels.
I mean, you're not, like, how should I say this? It's not necessary to live in the matrix.
I don't want to.
It's not necessary to live in the matrix. Like you can have a third 3D experience, which is this one, and you were mentioning that when you have like a flow state, flow week, whatever, and then comes a lesson, it's source teaching you something to make you like continue on a flow state for more time. But what it kind of seems to me, it's not just your own problem, it's mine, I think it's everyone's problem. We don't like the matrix we live in, and that's why we are here. It's our own it's our objective, soul contract. We are here to change this. So it's like that goes hand in hand with, you know, the plans that you know of.
Does anyone here actually experience or has felt collective consciousness?
Collective consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah, especially in a house of mirrors type setting.
And the fractals.
It's also part of where you're able to get your precognition from.
I mean, you're always experienced the collective consciousness.
I know, because we are already connected to it, but I mean like consciously felt it. Like I feel like I've had like tiny mini little tasters of it. But does anyone here, like, go throughout their day? Like, do you go throughout your day and like, you look at other people. It's just the way you look at other people, maybe, and you're like, oh, I'm you and you're me. Like, I never really have that.
Oh yeah, I get
lot
that a
of
lot with
times.
animals.
Oh, I have that with animals. Yeah, that's really really good to say. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, though.
So you know how they've been burning the fuck out of the West Coast in the USA a couple weeks back. And
Yeah.
they've been doing it for years regardless anyway. So you talk about the collective consciousness. It's the same way, because again, it's just our soul reaching right out. It always is able to tap into that node. The same way we're able to reach out and touch each other right now, with our spirit. So while that's happening, I'm feeling all of that pain while I'm out hiking and walking, and it's just shattering me to tears. We have access to this constantly at any moment,
Yeah, you
because
can
it is
always
us.
feel the pain of everyone and everything that surrounds you if you just open yourself enough. The thing is we close ourselves, and that's why we have a problem connecting to the collective.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to point out that the pain is there to feel,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think stepping away from the pain, like the Matrix will oftentimes criticize monks meditating in caves and things like this and say, oh, well, they don't have to deal with the stressors of, like the Matrix. It's very easy to just sit in a cave and meditate. But
it is not.
On the contrary, I mean, because I already know kind of someone has feelings on that, so.
Because your body is not in contact with, like, your physical senses are not receiving the pain that goes around the world. But when you are in complete silence and in the middle of nature, you can connect easier to the collective consciousness, and you will feel the pain maybe 10 times more strong than if you try to do it.
And so it's almost like voluntary suffering at that point, because the challenge becomes meditating for 12 hours, sitting in that position for 12 hours or something. And maybe tapping into the pain becomes, more significant because it's a deliberate act,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the art of it, after tapping into it, is then transmuting it and creating something peaceful and loving from it. And that's the deeper reason for why all of us are here right now.
Transmutation is I don't know if, like, I think the only person who was there was Fundamental when I was reading something, and it says like transmutation is the purpose of living, the transmutation of darkness into light.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we are all butterflies.
And that's so funny because I read Hilondre and I have like a little synchronicity thing going on, but it's so funny because like I posted a post today that said, too much light can blind you. You need darkness for the balance. And it's true that I feel like sometimes you won't be able to like comprehend or transmute the light if you're not aware or understanding of the darkness. And that's why I'm always about the balance. I always like to talk about the balance of that, because there's a lot of people who are always just talking about love and light and positivity, and this is why I feel like also I connect a lot to the truth aspect of the illusion, if you like. Because you can just experience like different levels of awareness.
Yeah. I liked, I think it was Souneater that said it, but it was voluntary suffering for sure. A lot of people have involuntary suffering that either forces them to wake up or they choose to stay asleep. But once they overcome it, some people either get addicted to the suffering and they do their best to seek adrenaline and all that kind of stuff. Or you have people that understand that the transformational process of the suffering is what's really key in life. And so a meditator that's not necessarily making themselves empty, but is what I like to call walking through the valley of the shadow of death within themselves. They are subtracting everything from their life that's going to give them a fleshy, desired, like, pleasure response so that they can help. And it works for entire communities. One person making a voluntary suffering can help balance out an entire community of consciousness. And this is shown through the transcendental meditation experiments that they've done as well.
Well, look at Vipassana. Has anyone ever done Vipassana?
The what?
Vipassana.
What?
The silent meditation.
Yeah, I had in yoga school we had 24 hours of no eye contact, no speech.
Yeah.
You know,
Vipassana is 10 days. You go to a retreat. They have them everywhere. I think a lot of people go to India to do them. There's a few places in the UK you can do them. 10 days, no talking, no eye contact, constant meditation. You're not allowed to read. You can't bring a notebook. You can't write. You are literally just sitting with yourself for 10 whole days in silence. And there's a lot of people that cannot complete it. And there's a lot of people that really struggle. I've heard some crazy stories that people have
Well, it's normal. People
lost their mind a little bit, but
they can't face their darkness. You cannot face your own demons if you don't accept them. That's the problem when you meditate. Like, you have to connect with yourself and with everything. So you have to connect with the darkness to you, and most people don't accept that the world is made of both light and dark, and darkness can be really, like, can set your mind crazy.
Yeah.
So can too much light, you start getting
exactly
way too up there.
Yeah.
When you have too much light, you start getting too much innocent, if you could say so.
Yeah.
So
you start thinking that everything that you're doing is okay, when in reality you're doing things that are well, we know better.
You have to walk the path of darkness, but you have to keep your light on.
And so,
right, yeah.
When we talk about ascension and transcendence, that's what it is from the duality trap. It's the balancing of both. That's the third. That's the overstanding. This is the deepest refining process of the spirit while it's in incarnated form. And while we have such processes like that with the silence for 10 days and no eye contact, I mean, to the soul, that's a fucking joke. Everything here, again, is just trying to make up for how divine, how impeccable, how swift, the soul is. And then the third density format, it's constantly trying to match the spirit more and more, and that is that process. It's about being in total harmony in between the light and the dark. So understanding is in the third density. We're stuck in here. The understanding is knowing what we are, and the overstanding is going beyond the duality matrix time trap illusion of what this is, and being in perfect alignment in between both, but neither more than the other.
So does darkness still exist in the other dimensions as we ascend up through the dimensions?
No.
No?
And other realms and planes of existence. Now, there's even deeper, darker, worse hell realms than this. This isn't shit. But there's also many, many other planes of existence that most of them aren't free will, because that's why this is designed the way it is. It's a soul school, for sure.
One thing is for sure, darkness is but light of the light.
Because the reason why I asked that is because in this realm it seems to be balance is a very big key to success in everything. To lose weight, for example, you need to balance moving your body and with what you put in your body. Happiness is about balance. everything. I mean, I just find that everything is about balance. So as we go up through the dimensions, is it also about balance, or does it just get easier?
Well, so like while we're in incarnated form here for Earth Realm, in the same way that Earth Realm is going through, you know, this grand solar minimum, again, we're shifting with it while we're here in incarnate form. And it's all about balance and alignment. You know, this plane of existence that we're on is one of the greatest of soul schools ever. I mean, to me at this point, this is nothing but fun, you know?
Yeah, I can feel that.
I struggle here.
A question I might ask is, you know,
we all struggle. That's the art. Sorry, John.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, kind of what I was gonna say is, you know, it's like, to get to the point where someone would feel like they need to change something about themselves, as far as like, you know, wanting to lose weight or being unhappy. So I have this goal to achieve, but I need to be happy. It's like getting to the point of feeling like we need to lose weight or be happy is, you know, the lesson in and of itself, you know, and the suffering is to move towards the suffering is I feel the way, you know.
Yes. Yep.
Because when you avoid it, you just create more problems for yourself, and the lesson at that point is to avoid the suffering.
That's where the discipline and impeccability comes in 100%, the refining of the spirit.
Suffering is only suffering until you've seen the other perspective of it.
Yeah.
So pushing yourself into the uncomfortability.
When you push yourself into the uncomfortable, you strive to change. Because if you are comfortable, you don't move. And
right.
that's why most of us at this point in time, and ever since the pandemic began, we are all waking up much more faster because we are not comfortable.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
So if I could extrapolate on uncomfortability a little bit, John Burrier. So him and I have known each other, at least in incarnate form, for the last 23 years now. He literally lives, and this is very rare for us, for souls like us to incarnate so close together. So him and I we know that we've been on prior missions and prior incarnations in this. But to go a little deeper in this aspect, and John's seen me personally here in physical form. He knows my story very well, and I know his story very well. And the same way with all of your stories, we've all had very, and been through many, many uncomfortable experiences. And the point being is the many uncomfortable experiences that we've gone through on the way to the now to help us to get to the now, and the remaining uncomfortable experiences that we're going to go through to continue to help us and refine us. John and I's, like almost our ethos is, and we were talking about this earlier, is we thrive on the constant challenge and perfecting of oneself by being uncomfortable. I personally didn't come here for it to be easy, and it's not gonna get easier. What's about to come is gonna be really challenging on multiple levels for all souls here. You know, this is a big reason for why we came here. We didn't come here to be comfortable at all.
Can we talk more about that?
Huh?
Can we talk more about that? Like what can we expect to experience when you're saying things are about to get more uncomfortable?
Well, this is going to happen on multiple levels. We know what's going to play out in the Matrix realm the same way. All the predictive programming, passive chaos magic, all the shit that's been out there, even in just the last 40 fucking years of Agenda 2021, Agenda 20, all that shit will play out. That'll happen. And people are going to choose that. Unwittingly, they'll be tricked into that. Things will get tighter. Things will get more restrictive. The shift will also happen that souls more like us and others that are ready will continue to grow closer to the earth, closer together, closer in all autonomous communities. This is going to play out over a few years. The earth realm is going to keep shifting. There are going to be more cataclysmic events. This happens. This realm is a reset realm. It happens. All other ancestral cultures knew this. Other cultures know this now. you know, this stuff's going to play out. And then on a multi-dimensional level, on a physical, third density level, on a spiritual level, on a soul level, on a consciousness level, we're all going to have to deal with many, many different things as we continue to grow ourselves and help guide those that are ready, you know, as this shift plays out.
Is there anything we can do to prepare ourselves?
We've already been doing it the whole time.
Turn
Yes,
inside.
it is about getting tighter on all aspects. You know, it's about getting more creative. Personally, during this current incarnation, you and I have talked about it before, Alex. I've basically lived as a criminal the whole entire time. I've been in jail and prison for 6 years. I've lived in the streets. I know how to get around, even since, you know, everything that was in place prior to 9/11 and then after 9/11. I mean, personally, I've been preparing to get around all this, and that's what everybody's going to have to keep getting more and more comfortable with, because it's going to get tighter. You know, we're going to have to start moving away from technology, start tapping more into your telepathic abilities. You know, the more we use this fucking technology, the less we're tapping into our abilities that are already there. You know, there are just processes and things that we're going to have to keep doing. Diet, lifestyle, getting no longer being reliant on money or the concept of any of these things, and growing more your own food, learning how to filter your own water. All these, like, these are aspects that, as we continue to discuss this further, I've worked a lot on this stuff. John Breyer knows a lot of this stuff. Many of you and many other things to offer and contribute to this. Like, this is a thing as we're all moving forward to this, as a shift is happening. You know, we should set up another meeting where we just throw all that stuff together. I know there's that Dolores Cannon thing with New Earth, and others have talked about blah, blah, blah. Regardless of what the fuck ever you call it, the reality of what's actually happening and playing out, I draw from the Hopi prophecy because that's the closest thing. Again, it's just a shift. This is what's happening. We're returning closer to the earth while we're still in this density, while our soul and our consciousness is raising, and others are raising, and we're shifting with the earth realm as it's shifting. And then that other polar shift that is happening in this weirdo fucking hell, secret society, transhumanist, GMO, fluoridated state. I mean, is what it is.
Interesting, yeah.
And something really valuable I learned from Suuneater is to not necessarily have, you know, I had a lot of spiritual gurus and different, you know, people I would be taking advice from, even like sometimes even, I mean, you wouldn't call them medical professionals, but someone like a therapist. And, you know, you get to the point where you study so much on your own, and you become your own teacher in such regards that, you know, eventually you start to see things for what they really are, you know, and you start to see, you know, maybe some of these people can't help you the way you thought they could, you know, and that's really valuable because it's, you know, sometimes you'll be somewhere and, you know, maybe something bad will happen in this realm and you'll be looking around, you know, almost like, you know, oh, who can help me out with this sort of thing? And it's like, no one's here to help, you know, it's a lot of it's from within, I think.
I can so relate to that. When I go through like a painful situation, my natural reaction is to seek help outside of myself. And I start going through my phone and thinking, who can I call and who can I cry to, or who can I get some advice from, or and then the most ironic thing happens is that I'll message a few people and I don't hear back because for whatever reason they're busy or whatever. And I'm left with myself, and then I'm forced to deal with it. But I always afterwards I always kind of like laugh to myself a little bit, because I'm like, you know, it is like the universe is having to force me to, because I'm very stubborn. Like, I've noticed, like, especially with getting spiritually aligned, I can be very, very stubborn with myself and just lazy really sometimes, and I constantly want to seek outside of myself for comfort or to ease the pain or to answers. I mean, Sunny can vouch, like, I'm always messaging him when something bad happens. You probably
Yeah, but let's go deeper than that. You don't message me. What happens is I'll respond to you before you even message me, because again, we're fucking telepathic souls that operate on multi dimensions. Stop looking outside of yourself at the reflection. This is the reflection. This is the reverberation. You know this, and that's what you're still struggling with. You know, is you're still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know it, because we talk about it, you know, and we laugh about it. And that's part of it. That's part of us stepping back, you know, our soul stepping forward, you know, and shedding this goofy fucking human role we've been playing. Again, I'm not John Beach. This is a character. This was what I needed at the moment that I needed to come in incarnated form. This is a spacesuit personally I am wearing. I have a job to do. Y'all have a job to do. This is what we came here for.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, anyone I could reach out to, I mean, most people, I don't know, like 99% of people I know are already, sort of the world or of the matrix. So it's like, one, how much do, we call these people our friends and things, but how much do they really know about us? And how much would they be able to help us in any given situation,
No, I
Because,
completely agree.
yeah, if they have that like negative worldview or that lens of the matrix kind of thing going on, it's like it's like the special, the souls that resonate is really, and that's why spending so much time together is, I think like-minded. It goes deeper than just being like-minded, but
it's kindred souls. It's
yeah.
I think it is about perceiving like similar realities. Obviously, we don't all see things the same way, and we're not going to, because we've all had very different experiences throughout our lives, giving us very different perceptions on our reality. But it's just the way we see some things in the world is very similar, and it can help. Like with you guys, what I'm trying to say is that I don't feel as misunderstood as I have mostly felt throughout my life, or I don't feel as alienated, or I don't feel as lonely. But again, that's me kind of like, when I talk about loneliness, again, that's me looking outside of myself, because really and truly I should not be feeling lonely, because I have myself.
Well, and Alex, again, your life that you've been living prior, it's a fucking role. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
The alienation, that's all that the uncomfortability, the refining process of our soul stepping back forward and shedding. This is a role. You're playing a character. You are not Alex. You're not this character you've been playing up to this point.
And I think
that's the harsh reality of our remembrance,
Yeah, there's something about trying to let go of that, and I don't know, and just perceive things in a different way. I think that's what this whole process is that I've been going through this year. It's been quite tough, but in like a positive way, not in like a negative way, not feeling sorry for myself. But it has been a struggle, but like in a good way, as part of the process.
It's been everything that it's needed to be for you and more, and it'll continue to be as such. Again, nobody here in this discussion, and again, it's not about how many are here. Everybody here that is here has made it this far for a very specific reason. We're all having this discussion for a reason that's powerful unto itself,
So I'm just looking at the time and just bearing in mind that we don't go too much over the hour. Is there something that you want to say to close the session, or actually I wanted to touch back on why you labeled the session Soul Amnesia. Do you want to go more into that?
Well, it's, it plays into what you were just saying. Again, this character, John Beach, that I've been playing for 36 years is not what and who I am. When we talk about all the world's a stage, actor-based reality, 3D matrix illusion, there are multiple dimensions, multiple layers to this. But this character that I'm playing right now, this is not who and what I am. I am Suuneater. I come from many, many, many different incarnations over multiple planes of existence. I know who and what I am. That's part of shaking off the soul amnesia. Remembering one's true self and allowing the soul to step forward and shed the incarnated form. When we were born into this, and why everything is designed in this realm to go after our spirit and our attention, everything in this realm is designed to do that, to poison us, whether on the physical level, the conscious level, or the soul level. Right there, it's the giveaway of how important our soul, our consciousness, our spirit is. And that's why all the indoctrination sets in. That's why all the tricks, that's why all the sorcery, everything. And it takes us, this current incarnated lifetime, or multiple incarnated lifetimes, to remember who and what we are. Some of us choose to come in here willingly, and others are just waking up and or maybe on level 5 of their soul potential. Only you truly know that. And that's what soul amnesia is, as we come into this third density earth realm, human incarnated form. But at the end of the day, all of you, myself included, you're all fragments, fractal fragments of the divine creator consciousness, having this experience in your own unique way, with your own unique gifts to co-create this reality. And that's what part of the remembrance is, as we shed our soul amnesia. I love all of you. I'm eternally grateful for all of you. I look forward to getting to know all of you on a deeper soul level and moving forward again. As challenging and painful and as uncomfortable as it's going to continue to be, it's going to be exactly what it needs to be to get us to where we need to be. And none of us are alone. We have each other. And even when we don't have each other, you still have everything you need already right inside of you. I love all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I love you too. That was wonderful. And thank you, Alex, for putting this together again.
Yeah.
Anytime. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate all your time and all your input. And it's just like these little conversations just really light me up, you know, like the fact that you're all here, the wisdom that you're all bringing, the knowledge, the experiences that you're all sharing. This just really lights me up. So
We
thank you
got each
again.
other home.
Exactly. We're leading each other home.
Exactly.
I love
Thank
it.
all of you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.
Bye.
Recipe. Nora says bye. Talk to you guys
Bye-bye,
later.
Norris.
Bye.
Bye, Nora.
Bye, Nora.